Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Got Richard Weylman on. He is a consultant, a business consultant extraordinaire. And by the way, his website, Richard Weylman, that's WEYLMAN.com. I put a media request out there, wanting to learn about how to approach busy C-level executives. To me now, it's harder than ever. All the communication tools out there actually almost makes it easier for busy people to ignore us. And so I really wanted to get the insights of someone who's dealing with this challenge all the time and helping his clients deal with the challenge. Richard, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Kevin. Great to be with you today.
Kind of give us an overview of what your business is all about.
Well, very briefly, what we do and what our best clients say that we do for them is help them elevate business performance in today's marketplace. The way we accomplish that, we have a consulting division. We help companies rebrand, refocus, and help them to penetrate new markets and expand existing markets. We also have a coaching division where we do a great deal of coaching with CEOs, with individual leadership, even sales teams, to help them to, if you will, crack and penetrate specific niche targets or vertical markets. And then in addition to that, I speak at a lot of conferences on competitive differential, how to break out in the competitive marketplace, given today's environment of commoditization and, if you will, a lot of competition in almost every market sector.
Yeah, almost everything seems to be driven by procurement and pricing. And when that's happening, it's very difficult to differentiate yourself.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So tell me about your approach, and I looked at your list of clientele. It's rather impressive. How are you reaching C-level people? And is it important for you with what you're trying to sell to particularly pitch it to C-level people?
Absolutely. And it applies all the way to the individual that's walking into a Dollar General store. And people often say, well, the CEO, the C-suite, that's a far different approach. Well, in reality, what's happened is we've seen a fundamental change of 21st century business. The shift in power now is from the seller to the customer. Mm-hmm. Let's face it, in a world where information is ubiquitous, instantaneous, inexpensive, CEOs don't care that you have a great product, years of experience, you're rated number one. They have only one single focus. Why should I do business with this company or this individual? What will they help me accomplish what I want? So it's critically important if you're going to deal in the C-suite or in any other level of, shall we say, an organization, that you communicate in and from the perspective of the targeted individuals. And I will tell you that CEOs, COOs, CFOs, they're all about, let's cut to the chase. Are you going to help me accomplish that which it is that I want to get done? So, of course, that requires discovery, but you can't come in and say, well, let me tell you about my years of experience for the first 10 minutes. You would have never gotten the appointment, Kevin, if they didn't think you had capability and ability. What they want to know is, can you understand my business and will you help me accomplish what I want? And if you can speak from that perspective, they immediately engage and start to reveal the issues they're dealing with.
By the way, I got your new book. I'm not finished with it, but I've begun it, and I've enjoyed it, The Power of Why. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, The Power of Why is really focused on how to break out in the competitive marketplace. In fact, the full title is The Power of Why Breaking Out in the Competitive Marketplace. But the reality
That's convenient. Anyway.
And the reason I wrote the book, because in our consulting business, our coaching, my speaking, for many years now, for the last 10, 12 years, we have been tracking what's been going on in the consumer mindset. And consumer could be anybody, if you will, in the chain of individuals that spend money, whether it's a CEO or, as I said, somebody at a dollar store. And we began to look at, why are some companies doing so well in this recession? Why are some companies really getting up to bat a lot and growing their businesses? And a good example is Dollar General. I mentioned it earlier. They make a promise of real value upfront to the consumer. So the Power of Why really talks about, instead of using a unique selling proposition, very old school, today people want a unique value promise. Why? Because they know the difference between a promise and a proposition. You look at Dollar General, save time, save money every day. If you saw their earnings the last couple of days, have been stellar. They are absolutely gaining market share. Why? because people want to save time, save money every day. Look at Target.
Stores like them, Family Dollar. I think of Family Dollar. These are stores that, frankly, have very, very competitive pricing to the big box stores, but they're incredibly easy to get in and out.
Exactly. And even McDonald's, as ubiquitous as they are, I mean, what people don't realize is they have repositioned themselves for years and years. Kevin, you and I went to go by McDonald's. Several billion sold. We saw that on every sign worldwide.
Yep.
Traveled all over the world. What does it say today? Next time you drive by a McDonald's, look at the sign. It says several billion served. They're no longer trying to convince us to buy anything. They're telling us, guess what? You come here, we'll serve it to you. Why? Because people want convenience. It's not necessarily their lowest price, but people want to know what's the outcome to me, because they know the difference between a promise and a proposition.
No question about it. They do. They understand that entirely, and I think it's imperative for people to get to know. So people are harder to reach now more than ever. I'm sure you believe that too, because of all the distractions out there. What are some creative ways that aren't gimmicky to be able to access high-level individuals, decision makers?
Well, in reality, it's sort of like new rules, old rules. The reality is when you're reaching high-level decision makers, if you're going to do it by email, you can't send them the, let me tell you how great I am email. The reality is you have to approach them with a suggestive approach. As an example, three absolute essential mistakes that CEOs make, or three fundamentals that are required to grow the business. In other words, you have to use curiosity over convincing, because if you can message them in a curious way, let's say by email, that grabs their attention. Now, let's take a different approach. Let's say you wanted to reach a CEO at a firm, and without using a gimmick. Well, the reality is that if you can find out something about that individual at a very, very, shall we say, deep level. And it's easy. You call a company, talk to the individual who is perhaps their assistant, and he or she might say something like, and you can ask them, what are some of the things they're interested in? Well, I want to reach out to Mr. Wilson. I want to reach out to Mr. Johnson. I want to reach out to Mr. Tomlinson, or whatever the case might be. They'll often give you insight. What are things is he a reader? Yes, he is. Then send them something that will capture their attention. You can send a book. You might be able to send something like I'll give you one classic example. I had an individual who wanted to reach a high-level CEO, found out that this individual really was interested in antique cars. So he sent him a picture book and just simply said, here, I thought you'd find this of interest. I understand you really like classic cars. I'd like to have a conversation to introduce myself to you professionally. The CEO called him and thanked him. He got access, got an appointment, and ended up getting all five senior officers as clients in the financial world. Why? Because he personalized and humanized his approach, which is critically important in today's marketplace.
All right. Richard, love having you on. Richard Weylman, his website, Richard, obviously you know how to spell that, WEYLMAN.com. And I want to encourage you to check out his book, The Power of Why. Your point is, you know what? People really don't care how much they know until you know how much you care. And so engaging with them where they are and showing value in them is a great way to begin engagement, don't you think?
That's exactly right. Personalize and humanize the approach. And people respond because they're tired of the generic, I'm a wonderful person and wonderful company.
One size fit all type approach. Richard, I got to put you on hold for just a second, but thanks for being with us. And when we come back, we're going to have much more for you. I do want to remind you, check us out at usdailyreview.com.